This video is about the janitor lost her purse but the famous actor stepped in. If this story inspires you, please like the video, share it with loved ones, and write in the comments how it touched your heart. On a chilly November morning, the city buzzed with the energy of a new day. The streets sparkled with the last remnants of autumn leaves, painted in hues of amber and gold. Among the crowd, a woman named Clara Torres made her way to work, her heart full of anticipation and her spirit unwavering. Clara was not just any office janitor, she took pride in her job at the bustling downtown studio where films came to life. Her days were filled with the rhythmic sound of sweeping floors, the gentle hum of cleaning machines, and the soft rustle of her trusty cleaning cart that followed her like an old friend. Every morning, she would arrive before dawn, armed with her mop and bucket. "Morning, Ms. Torres," chirped a young intern as he rushed past her, laden with coffee cups and scripts. Clara smiled warmly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Morning, Peter. Don't spill those now," she teased, her voice warm like the first rays of sunlight. As she moved through the echoing halls, Clara often paused to admire the photographs of famous actors adorning the walls. Each snapshot told a story of dreams fulfilled and lives transformed. There was something about the way these images glimmered under the studio lights that sparked hope in her heart. She often wondered what it would be like to be on the other side of the camera, sharing her own story with the world. But life had its challenges. Bills piled up on her kitchen table, the rent was due, and her aging mother needed more medical attention than Clara could afford. Yet, despite the weight of her burdens, she clung to her optimism like a life raft in turbulent waters. As Clara cleaned the lavish lobby that day, she noticed a commotion near the entrance. The crowd gathered, their excited whispers filling the air, and the unmistakable aura of fame drifted into the space. It wasn't just any actor, it was Lucas Reed, the celebrated star whose films had captured hearts worldwide. He had charisma that lit up any room, but it wasn't his talent that struck Clara in that moment, it was the kindness she had heard about from others. "Can you believe he is here?" the voice piped in. "He has got a film premiere tonight." Clara's heart raced as she watched Lucas step out of a sleek black car, his smile brightening the dreary morning. For a fleeting moment she felt inspired, like a spark igniting within her. But there was no time for daydreaming, her responsibilities awaited. As she continued her work, her thoughts drifted back to the upcoming bills and her mother's health. Deep down, Clara yearned for a breakthrough, something to change her circumstances. But hope seemed distant, like a star just out of reach. Hours passed, and the day began to fade into evening. As Clara gathered her cleaning supplies, she realized her purse was missing. Panic surged through her as she retraced her steps, searching the sprawling studio frantically. Her heart sank with every passing moment, knowing her wallet contained more than just money. It held cherished photographs of her family. "Clara, what is wrong?" Peter's concerned voice cut through her worry, pulling her back to the present. "I lost my purse, Peter," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Everything I have is in there." "Let us look for it together," he urged, his youthful enthusiasm a flicker of light in her gloom. The two scoured the lobby, checking in corners, under furniture, and behind stacks of props. As Clara's hope dwindled, she felt the weight of the world settling back upon her shoulders. "I can't afford to lose that money and the photos," she whispered, her eyes glistening. Just then, the crowd erupted with excitement as Lucas stepped back into the studio, flanked by his entourage. Clara stood frozen, torn between her despair and the shimmering presence of the star. As if sensing her distress, Lucas turned, his gaze landing on Clara. "What is going on?" he asked, his voice warm and genuine. Clara hesitated, unsure whether to share her troubles with someone so famous. But in that moment of vulnerability, she decided to speak her truth. "I lost my purse, Mr. Reed. Everything important to me is in there." Lucas's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. "Let us find it together. I'll help you look," he offered, surprising her with his sincerity. "Are you sure?" Clara asked, taken aback. "Absolutely. Everyone deserves to be helped," he said with a reassuring nod, and just like that, the weight of her heart lifted a fraction. They began searching again, this time with Lucas's presence adding an unexpected warmth to the chilly air. As they combed through the studio, he shared snippets of his own struggles, stories of rejection, persistence, and the kindness of strangers that had shaped his path. Clara listened intently, captivated by the man behind the fame, someone who had faced his own trials and emerged stronger. Time slipped by as they searched, but with each moment, Clara felt a glimmer of hope rekindling within her. Lucas's laughter filled the air, and despite her worries, Clara found herself sharing stories about her family and her dreams. I always wanted to be a storyteller, she confessed, her heart racing as she spoke. But I never had the chance. Then maybe it is time to start telling you a story, Lucas replied, a spark in his eyes. You never know who might be listening. As they moved through the studio, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a search for her lost purse. It was a reminder of the resilience that lived within her, a flicker of hope ignited by an unexpected friendship. At last, after what felt like an eternity, Peter called out from behind a stack of props, "Is this it?" He emerged, holding her purse aloft like a trophy. Clara's heart swelled with relief and gratitude. Yes, that is it. She rushed forward, her hands trembling as she accepted it. She opened the purse and checked inside, finding everything intact, just as she had feared and hoped. Thank you so much," she exclaimed, tears blurring her vision. Lucas smiled, his eyes shining with understanding. "I am glad we found it." Just then, the frantic energy of the studio surged as staff prepared for the premiere. Clara knew her time was limited. "I should get back to my duties," she said reluctantly, glancing at the chaos unfolding around them. "Wait," Lucas interrupted, his voice serious now. "Before you go, remember this moment. You have a voice, and your story matters. Don't ever forget that." As she turned to leave, Clara felt a newfound spark within her, one that she hadn't felt in years. She looked back at him, and in that moment, something shifted in the air around them. "Thank you, Mr. Reed, I won't forget." With that, Clara stepped back into her routine, but the encounter lingered like a warm glow. As she continued to clean the lobby, she felt lighter, more determined. The challenges ahead were still there, but for the first time, she felt less alone. That evening, as she returned home, Clara glanced at the city lights twinkling like stars. It felt like the universe was whispering possibilities. With every step she took, she promised herself to hold on to that spark. The world was still a tough place, but she was ready to embrace her story and whatever it might bring. Little did Clara know, her journey was just beginning. To be continued. As Clara settled into her routine the following day, she found herself pausing more often, lost in thought. The encounter with Lucas Reed had left an indelible mark on her heart. Each time she swept the floor or polished the windows, she felt more than just a janitor. She felt the stirrings of a storyteller within her. "Penny for your thoughts." Peter's voice broke through her reverie as he handed her a steaming cup of coffee. It was a small gesture, but it warmed her more than the beverage itself. Clara chuckled softly. "Just thinking about how life can surprise you," she replied, savoring the aroma. "Like finding hope in the most unexpected places." "You mean like when Lucas Reed searched for your purse?" he teased, his grin infectious. "What a day that was." "Yes, but it was more than that," Clara mused, her thoughts drifting back to their conversation. "He reminded me that every story matters, including mine." "Then you should write it," Peter said enthusiastically. "You never know where it might lead." His words ignited a flame deep within Clara. She had always wanted to write, to share her stories, but life had often silenced her voice. Suddenly, she felt a surge of determination. "Maybe I will," she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. "It is time I gave my dreams a chance." With renewed purpose, Clara began jotting down snippets of her life in a small notebook she kept tucked away. Each word was a step toward reclaiming her narrative, transforming her struggles into stories of resilience. The blank pages became a canvas where she painted her triumphs, failures, hopes, and fears. As weeks passed, Clara's routine continued, a cycle of cleaning, writing, and dreaming. Each evening, she would sit at her kitchen table, her mother resting in the next room, and pour her heart into her notebook. She recounted tales of her childhood, memories of laughter and love, and the challenges that had shaped her. Yet life had its trials. Clara's mother's health fluctuated. Some days, she was lovely and engaging, while other days, she barely left her bed. The weight of worry pressed on Clara, but she found solace in writing. It was therapy, a release of bottled emotions that often felt overwhelming. One chilly night, Clara sat with her mother, who was wrapped in a soft quilt, her frail hands clasped tightly. "Mom, do you remember the story about the old oak tree in our backyard?" Clara asked, her heart aching at the sight of her mother's fragile state. Her mother smiled weakly. "Of course, dear, you and your sister used to climb it every summer." Clara continued, her voice soft yet steady. "It was a strong tree, wasn't it? Through storms and winters, it stood tall, just like us." "Exactly," her mother murmured, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "We really like that tree, Clara. We face the storms, but we stand tall. You must remember that." Clara took a deep breath, warmth spreading through her chest. I will, Mom, and I'll keep writing. I want to share our story. I want to inspire others, just like Lucas inspired me. Her mother nodded, a flicker of pride in her eyes. You have a gift, my dear, use it. Emboldened, Clara decided it was time to step beyond her comfort zone. She joined a local writing group that met once a week at the library. The first meeting was daunting. She felt out of place among seasoned writers and aspiring novelists. Yet, something beautiful happened as she listened to their stories. Each individual brought their own struggles and dreams to the table. Clara realized they were all united by the desire to share their truths. Writing is about vulnerability. An older woman named Lorraine spoke during the second meeting. It's about laying bare your soul for others to see. That's where the power lies. Clara absorbed every word, feeling a sense of belonging she had long craved. As her confidence grew, she began reading her own pieces aloud, her voice trembling but filled with conviction. The group listened intently, offering encouragement and constructive feedback. With every session, Clara felt more empowered, like her voice was finally emerging from the shadows. However, life threw another challenge her way. Clara's mother experienced a sudden health crisis that led to a hospital stay. Faced with the fear of losing her, Clara found herself spiraling into darkness. She spent long days by her mother's bedside, holding her hand and recounting stories from her notebook, hoping to weave a thread of comfort through the pain. Mom, remember when we went to the beach that summer? Clara said one afternoon, her voice breaking. You built the biggest sandcastle, and I thought it was a palace. Her mother's eyes flickered open, and a faint smile graced her lips. Yes, I remember. We decorated it with seashells. That castle was strong, just like you, Clara whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. You are my oak tree, Mom. You have to keep standing tall for me. Days turned into weeks, and as Clara's mother slowly regained her strength, Clara found solace in her writing. She poured her heart into a piece titled The Oak Tree, a story of resilience, love, and the bonds that tethered them to life. When she submitted it to a local literary magazine, she felt an exhilarating mix of fear and hope. One evening, as Clara returned from the hospital, clutching her notebook, her heart was pounding. She glanced at the envelope that sat on her kitchen table, a simple yet impactful symbol of her journey. It was a letter from the magazine in response to her submission. With trembling hands, she opened it. As she read the words, her heart soared. They wanted to publish her story. Tears streamed down her face, not from sadness, but from the release of years of pent-up emotions. I did it, I really did it, she whispered to herself, a smile breaking through the tears. The day of publication arrived, and Clara felt an intoxicating blend of nerves and excitement. She knew that sharing her story would not only honor her mother, but also shine a light on the struggles they faced together. As the sun rose, she made her way to the local bookstore where they would host a reading event. When she stepped onto the small stage, surrounded by supportive friends from her writing group, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She took a deep breath, her heart racing, and began to read The Oak Tree. As her voice filled the room, Clara saw a connection forming with the audience. Faces lit up, nods of understanding exchanged, and a few tears were quietly wiped away. Clara spoke of love, hope, and the beauty of resilience in the face of adversity. She shared the strength of her mother, the lessons learned, and the spark of inspiration that had ignited within her. When she finished, applause erupted, a chorus of support that enveloped her like a warm embrace. Clara's heart swelled with an indescribable joy. She had found her voice, and it resonated with others. Later, as she signed copies of her story, a young woman approached, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing your story," she said softly. "It gave me hope." In that moment, Clara understood the profound impact of connection, the beauty of sharing one's struggles and triumphs. She realized that every story had the power to inspire, to heal, and to uplift others. As Clara returned home that night, she felt a shift within her, a sense of purpose that had been absent for far too long. She glanced at her mother, who sat in the living room, a soft smile gracing her lips. "We did it, Mom," Clara whispered, her heart full. "Yes, we did," her mother replied, her voice filled with pride. "Your writing is a gift to the world." Together, they embraced the challenges that lay ahead, fortified by the love of family and the strength of the human spirit. Clara knew that life would continue to test them, but armed with resilience, courage, and a voice, she felt ready to face anything. With each passing day, Clara's journey unfolded a story of hope, kindness, and the beauty of the human spirit, proving that even in the darkest moments, light could always be found. And as she continued to write, she knew that her story filled with love, loss, and unyielding hope was just beginning to be told. The morning sun poured through Clara's window. casting a soft glow upon the walls. The familiar sounds of the bustling city began to filter in, yet Clara remained cocooned in the warmth of her blanket. Her heart still fluttered from the previous night's reading and experience that had opened her eyes to the power of her voice and the impact of sharing her story. As she finally rose, Clara glanced at her mother, who sat in her favorite armchair, a novel resting on her lap. "Good morning, Mom," Clara said, her voice brightening the room. "Good morning, love," her mother replied, her tone filled with warmth. "You were wonderful last night. I couldn't have been prouder." "I couldn't have done it without you," Clara replied, her eyes welling. "You've always encouraged me to follow my dreams." Her mother smiled gently, the lines around her eyes deepening with love. "Remember, we all have our own stories to tell. The world needs to hear them." Clara took a deep breath, filled with determination. "I want to keep writing, Mom. I want to help others feel less alone." "You were already doing that," her mother said, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Just keep speaking your truth." With a renewed sense of purpose, Clara headed off to the studio. The familiar sights and sounds greeted her like old friends, the rhythmic clatter of heels on the floor making her feel invigorated. Today was just another day of cleaning, but in her heart she considered it more than that. It was a canvas where she could weave her thoughts and dreams. "Hey, Clara." Peter waved as she entered the lobby, a bright smile on his face. "Did you see your story in the magazine? It's everywhere. People are talking about it." Clara chuckled nervously. "I didn't think people would take notice." "They already have. You re-inspiring others." Peter leaned closer, eager to share. "They were saying that your story gave them hope. You've made a difference." Clara felt a flush of warmth spread through her cheeks. "That means so much to me, Peter. I just wanted to share my truth." "Keep it up," he encouraged. "You never know where it might lead." As Clara began her work, she couldn't shake the feeling of excitement. Every sweep of her broom felt lighter, every polish of the windows more purposeful. Her heart sang with potential, as if the universe itself conspired to guide her path. But as days turned into weeks, life still threw challenges her way. Her mother's health continued to fluctuate, and the burden of caring for her weighed heavily on Clara. Each time she sat down to write, her mind wandered to the uncertainties of her mother's illness. She often found herself writing about the bittersweet moments, the laughter amidst pain, the worry intertwined with hope. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day at the studio, Clara returned home to find her mother asleep in the armchair, a light blanket draped over her. The sight tugged at Clara's heartstrings. She tiptoed over, brushing her fingers over her mother's hair, savoring the moment. "Mom," she whispered gently. Her mother stirred, eyes fluttering open. "I must have drifted off. How was your day, Clara?" "Busy, as always, but I got to write a little," Clara replied, settling beside her. "I wrote about the time we went to the beach and built that sandcastle." Her mother chuckled softly. "Oh, I remember. You were so proud of that castle. You said it was a palace fit for a queen." "I still think it was a masterpiece," Clara teased, her heart aching with nostalgia. "But I wrote about how it fell apart after the tide came in, how life sometimes washes away what we build." Her mother nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's just like that castle. We may falter, but we can always rebuild. Remember, my love, resilience is our greatest power." Clara felt a tear escape down her cheek, touched by her mother's unwavering strength. "I just want to make sure you're okay, Mom. You mean everything to me." "I know, sweetheart, but we must also remember to live. I want to see you chase your dreams, even if I can join you every step of the way," her mother said softly. Encouraged by her mother's words, Clara decided to submit another piece to the literary magazine, a piece about their shared journey, the intertwining of love and loss, and the indomitable spirit that kept them going. As she poured her heart onto the pages, Clara felt a deep connection with her mother intensify. It was a tribute to their lives, a testament to their resilience. Meanwhile, the writing group continued to flourish. Clara found solace in the camaraderie of fellow writers, each sharing their tales of struggle and victory. During one particular meeting, Lorraine shared her own heart-wrenching story of loss and the healing power of writing. "Writing saved me," Lorraine said, her voice steady despite the emotion in the room. "It was my lifeline when I felt like I was drowning." Clara listened intently, her heart swelling with sympathy. "I feel that way too," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Writing helps me process my fears. It gives me a voice when I don't think I have one." Another member chimed in, "Clara, you have a gift. Your words carry weight. Keep sharing them." Encouraged by her peers, Clara decided to read a draft of her new piece, tentatively titled "The Castle We Built." As she read aloud, she saw heads nodding, empathy etching across their faces. The vulnerability she expressed resonated deeply with the room, and she felt the power of connection solidify her voice further. When she finished, the applause was thunderous, and Clara felt a rush of emotion. "Thank you," she said, her chest swelling with pride. "I didn't think I could share something so personal." "That is where the magic lies," Lorraine replied, beaming. "When you open up, you invite others in." With each passing week, Clara's resolve grew stronger. While she continued to care for her mother, she found support in her writing and her friends. She started to dream bigger, envisioning a series of stories that chronicled her life and the lives of those around her. But just as Clara found her footing, tragedy struck. One rainy morning, her mother's condition took a sudden turn for the worse, and Clara rushed her to the hospital. Fear gripped her heart like a vise as she watched the medical team rush around, her mother's frail body becoming enveloped in sheets of white. "Please, God," Clara whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Not now, not when we were finally building something beautiful together." Hours felt like days as Clara waited, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Finally, a doctor approached her, offering a reassuring smile. "She is stable for now, but we need to keep her here for observation." Relief washed over Clara, but it was laced with dread. The following days were filled with anxious moments, brief glimmers of hope, and heart-wrenching uncertainty. In the quiet of the hospital room, Clara often found herself reading passages from her stories to her mother, hoping to comfort her amidst the chaos. "Remember our sandcastle?" Clara said one evening, her voice breaking. "We re like that, Mom. We can rebuild. We always can." Her mother's eyes fluttered open, a faint smile appearing. "And we will, my love, we will." Weeks passed, and as her mother slowly regained her strength, Clara felt a shifting in her heart. It was during one of those quiet moments that her mother looked at her and said, "You have so much to share, Clara. The world needs to hear your voice. Don't let fear hold you back." With determination igniting within her, Clara decided to take a leap of faith. She explored the idea of a book and anthology filled with the stories she had written. She poured her heart into the project, weaving in personal anecdotes about their journey while incorporating the lessons learned from her writing group. As she finalized the manuscript, she felt a sense of liberation wash over her. Each word infused with love, resilience, and the beauty of human connection. She submitted it to several publishers, her heart racing at the thought of sharing her mother's and her story with the world. Months later, Clara received the call that would change her life. A small press wanted to publish her book. "Your writing touched us deeply," the editor said. "We believe your voice deserves to be heard." Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks as she hung up the phone. "Mom," she called out, racing to find her mother. "They want to publish my book." Her mother's face lit up with joy. "I knew they would. You have a light within you, Clara, shine bright." As the book release approached, Clara found herself reflecting on the journey that had led her here. The challenges, the moments of despair, the flickers of hope, they all wove together to create something beautiful. On the night of her book launch, Clara stood in front of a crowd filled with friends, family, and members of her writing group. She looked out at the sea of faces, each one reflecting a shared story of resilience. Taking a deep breath, she stepped up to the podium, her heart racing. "Thank you for being here tonight," Clara began, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "This book represents so much more than just words on a page. It is a combination of everything I've lived through, and it is dedicated to my mother, the strongest person I know." The crowd erupted into warm applause, but Clara's gaze remained on her mother, who sat proudly in the front row, eyes shimmering with tears of joy. Clara's heart swelled with love and gratitude. Every sacrifice her mother made, every struggle they faced together, had led her to this moment. As Clara began to read excerpts from her book, she could feel the weight of her story resonating with the audience. She chose passages that illustrated the warmth of family, the depth of sorrow, and the strength that blossomed in the face of adversity. Each word was a bridge connecting her heart to those listening intently. "Life is like that old oak tree in our backyard," she read, remembering the lessons her mother had taught her. "It bends and sways with the storms, but it stands tall, rooted in love. We learn to rebuild our castles when the tide washes them away." She looked up to see a woman in the crowd nodding, her eyes glistening. Clara could see the flicker of recognition on her face. She too understood the fragility of life and the power of resilience. It was moments like this that illuminated Clara's journey. She wasn't just sharing her story, she was forging connections, building a community of shared experiences. After her reading, Clara stepped off the podium, feeling buoyed by the audience's energy. She made her way back to her mother, enveloping her in a tight embrace. "We did it, Mom. We did it together, Clara whispered, her voice breaking. Yes, my love, her mother replied, her voice barely above a whisper. You've always had this light in you. I am just so proud to see you shine. The evening continued with laughter, tears, and conversations that flowed like the finest wine. Friends and family gathered around Clara, celebrating not just her book but the journey it represented. Peter, her faithful intern and now a close friend, approached with a wide grin. You were amazing, Clara. I knew you had it in you. Thank you, Peter, Clara replied, her cheeks flushing. I couldn't have done this without your support. You've believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Consider me your #1 fan, Peter chuckled, raising his glass in a toast. As the night progressed, Clara shared her journey with anyone who asked, recounting the pivotal moments that led her to write her book. But as the celebration wore on, a familiar ache crept into her heart. The weight of her mother's health loomed in the background, a reminder of the uncertainty that still lingered in their lives. Clara pushed the thought aside, determined to bask in the joy of the moment. A few days later, Clara received a call from a local radio station. They wanted to interview her about her book and the inspiration behind it. Excitement bubbled within her, but so did trepidation. Was she ready to share her journey on such a public platform? Mom, what do you think? Clara asked, pacing the living room. Her mother sat on the couch, her hands clasped together in her lap, a gentle smile gracing her lips. I think you should go for it, Clara. Your story deserves to be heard, and this is another opportunity to inspire others, her mother said, her voice steady even as it filled with warmth. Clara nodded, feeling the encouragement wash over her. You were right, it is time to step out of my comfort zone again. On the day of the interview, Clara arrived at the studio filled with a mix of nerves and excitement. She was ushered into a cozy room adorned with bookshelves and soft lighting. As she waited for the host, she took a moment to reflect on how far she had come, the young janitor with dreams who had found her voice. When the host, a friendly woman named Sarah, entered, Clara felt an instant connection. It is so great to meet you, Clara. Your book has been making waves around here. I can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you, Sarah. I am excited to be here, Clara replied, her voice steadying as she smiled. As the interview began, Clara spoke candidly about her experiences, the struggles of caring for her mother, the inspiration behind her stories, and the importance of resilience. She could feel Sarah's genuine interest, and it made the conversation flow effortlessly. Your story deals with some heavy themes, but there is such a beautiful thread of hope woven through it. How do you maintain that hope? Sarah asked, leaning forward, clearly captivated. Clara took a deep breath, recalling her late-night writing sessions and the moments of laughter shared with her mother. I think hope is something we cultivate. It is not always easy, but it is there if we look closely. My mother taught me that no matter how dark the storm, there is always a glimmer of light somewhere. That is so inspiring, Sarah replied, a soft smile lighting up her face. And your readers are responding to that message. Clara's heart swelled with pride. I've received messages from readers who feel less alone. That is what it is all about, forging connections and sharing our collective stories. After the interview wrapped up, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was her calling to inspire and uplift others through her words. As she left the studio, she couldn't help but notice the beauty of the world around her, the sun casting golden rays across the city, the laughter of children playing in the park, the kindness of strangers passing by. However, as days turned into weeks, the reality of her mother's health continued to challenge Clara. Some days her mother felt strong, and other days she seemed frail and tired. It was a delicate dance between hope and fear, but Clara clung to the belief that their love could weather any storm. One evening, as Clara returned from the studio, she found her mother gazing out the window, lost in thought. What is on your mind, Mom? Clara asked, settling beside her. I was just thinking about the stories you've shared, her mother replied, her voice tinged with nostalgia. You have a way of capturing life as essence, Clara. It is a gift not everyone possesses. I learned from you, Clara said, her heart swelling with warmth. You taught me the importance of storytelling, of holding onto our memories. I want you to promise me something, her mother said, turning to face Clara, her eyes serious yet gentle. No matter what happens, keep writing, share your stories, they're really powerful. Of course, Mom, I promise, Clara replied, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. You'll always be my inspiration. As Clara continued to write, she dug deeper into her emotions, pouring her experiences onto the page. She explored the beauty of their bond, the struggles of navigating illness, and the strength that came from vulnerability. Writing became not just a release but a way to honor their journey. Through it all, Clara remained dedicated to spreading her message of hope. She organized a community event, inviting local writers, caregivers, and anyone who had experienced hardship to share their stories. "Let us come together and uplift one another," Clara said passionately in her promotional materials. The night of the event, Clara stood before a packed room, her heart racing with excitement. "Thank you all for being here tonight. We regathered not just to listen, but to connect, to share our stories and remind each other that we were not alone." As people began to share their experiences, Clara felt a wave of warmth envelop the room. Stories of resilience, love, and overcoming adversity poured forth. She saw tears glistening in the eyes of those listening, solidarity building with each shared word. That evening, Clara realized that her purpose extended beyond her own narrative. It was about fostering community, about creating a space where voices could be heard and healing could begin. After the event, while mingling with guests, Clara felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find a young woman, her eyes shimmering with tears. "Thank you for tonight," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I lost my mother last year, and sharing my story helped me feel less alone." Clara's heart broke in empathy. "I am so sorry for your loss. Your story matters, and I am grateful you shared it. You were not alone in this." As the evening wound down, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. Each story shared was a reminder that they were all in this together, the struggles, the triumphs, the moments of vulnerability all woven into the fabric of life. That night, Clara returned home and found her mother sleeping peacefully in her armchair, a soft glow from the lamp illuminating her features. Clara knelt beside her, brushing a stray hair from her mother's forehead. "I love you, Mom. Thank you for being my guiding light." Days turned into weeks, and while her mother faced challenges, Clara continued to write, organize events, and spread messages of hope throughout the community. Their bond grew stronger through every struggle, every shared laugh, every tear shed in quiet moments. One day, Clara received an unexpected email from a larger publishing house expressing interest in her book. They had heard about her community events and the impact